And in so many ways, this Avatar movie, I'm not saying Cameron symbolized it like this, I'm saying what it symbolized to me. The blue people, who were in total harmony with everything else, I'm saying to me are symbolic of humans as we were before the Predator came. And then the American troops with their high technology, let's kill people, we want these resources, so let's just go and get them and destroy everything to do so. They symbolize to me this reptilian intervention. And they even have in the Avatar movie, of course, the concept of the possession of the blue people so that they could infiltrate their society while outwardly looking like they do and not being known to be who they are. These reptilians look down a different timeline to us because they're on a different wavelength. They're able to see further into what we call the future than we are. And therefore, if you access this network of secret societies, especially the inner circle, you can access the projected future of human society which this is planning. Therefore, you can write prophetic novels which further down what we call the timeline turn out to be staggeringly accurate. All you need to do is to access that projection. And you do it by accessing the Secret Society network. This, the Fabian Society in London, created in 1884, is one of those societies. The deeper inner core that have access to that timeline and that projected agenda. And this guy was one of them, a Fabian. And that's the Fabian logo, by the way. The wolf in sheep's clothing. Perfect. Perfect. It created, in effect, the Labour Party in Britain, and it influences massively the left, not only the left, but what we call the left centre of politics, not just in Britain, but in other countries. Australia too, for instance, very, very powerfully. When people have said to me in the past, you know, what's planned, I've said to them, well, you can read two books and see it, just put them together. George Orwell's 1984, and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. This was published in 1948, this was in 1932. Put the two together, this talks about the drugs and all the rest of it, and the mind control, this talks about the sort of police state. Put them together, you got it. They were incredibly prophetic. I've been saying for years they weren't novels, or their source wasn't novels. Turns out that Aldous Huxley taught French to a man called Eric Blair then, now George Orwell, at Eton College, and introduced him to the Fabian Society. And this was the knowledge base, plus no doubt others connected, where they got these concepts. And what they said all those decades ago, Huxley's case 1932, is now happening in incredible detail. And it seems that Orwell rebelled against what he heard and wrote 1984 to try to expose it. And some researchers suggest, they may well be right, that he called it 1984 when it was set kind of about now, because 1984 was the 100th anniversary of the creation of the Fabian Society. We reached a point where these entities and their hybrid bloodlines, the Illuminati bloodlines, they think the takeover of humanity is almost complete. And when you look at it, it may seem to be that that's the case. They think the game is over. It's gone so far. They must be bloody joking. These people... These people are in for the shock of their lives in the next few years. The shock of their lives. Because they can access so much, but they can't access beyond that. And they think the game's over because it seems to be here, but they can't perceive there. And when that comes in here, and it's very close to doing so, game over. Well, we've come a long way, haven't we? And what we're going to do now then is have a break for, say, 45 minutes, and I'll come back and look at the world as it is now and what's happening. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very good so far, yeah. The reason I'm here basically is to find out exactly what's going on in the world and find out exactly what the hidden conspiracy there is that's going on today, basically.
It's not just David Icke that's saying this stuff about the moon. There's Alex Collier, the Andromedan contactee, who says that the moon was towed here from Ursa Minor, which is near the Alpha Draconis star system, by the reptilians.
I don't think he's necessarily said anything that I haven't known already, but he's very eloquent, and he's put it together in such a beautiful package that it just makes it very easy for anyone to understand.
I just like the way David puts things across. You know, he's not afraid. He's got no fear in him whatsoever. Doesn't give one iota about what people think, and I think we can all learn from that, definitely.
Ever since I was little, I've always thought that something was wrong. The way that society, because I believe that reality and the system that we live in are two completely different things. I've found it very difficult to concentrate in school because I was always told what to believe. It was very structured, and whenever I used to ask why, nobody could ever give me an answer. And it seems that David Icke seems to give those answers and opens up your perception to new possibilities.
Some concepts of it I can agree with, definitely with the controlling aspects of it, because there's got, like, when you look at the controlling thing, there's got to be a way of how they're really keeping us controlled. So I would say with that aspect of it, yeah, I do agree with it.
I have read and I have seen many videos, and I think it's great because there is a lot of truth in everything he says, and there will be a lot of changes from now on.
I admire what he's doing. I think he's got a lot of courage to step out and enlighten a lot of people about what's going on in the world that the majority of us don't really understand or know about. So he's, I give him a thumbs up, really.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've never done it this long. It's always been 3 times, now it's 4. It'll be 18 by the end of this decade, the way I'm going. What I want to do now is just look in this section at where we are now and how it plays out in this 5-sense reality. We've come down the levels, now plays out here. Manipulation of 5-sense reality. And what I call the coordinates. Because once we realize basic coordinates of where they want to take the world and the methods they use to take us there, suddenly what seems to be a bewildered world and what's going on, it just morphs into clarity. The question is, how do they do it? It's a good question, because at first sight, how do a few control the many? Impossible, but it's not, because of the way they've structured society. Just to very quickly recap, they want to lock humanity in the 5 senses, so we don't perceive beyond it. We're locked in that prison. They have interbreeding bloodlines, computer terminals, I would call them, which play out this interdimensional conspiracy within visible light, what I call the Illuminati bloodlines. And they've set up a structure whereby the bloodlines who answer to the reptilian control system then control the governments, the people in power in all the various institutions. And crucial all the way through is to structure society. I mean, you can symbolize it as a spider's web, or like this as a pyramid. The idea is to hoard advanced knowledge, the kind of stuff we've been hearing about today and more, in the upper levels of this structure. this pyramid within pyramid structure, compartmentalized pyramid, where the few at the top are the only ones that know how it all fits together. And they keep the general population in ignorance of what they know, therefore they have the power, so they can manipulate the perception of the masses by keeping them in ignorance. This is why the education system is not about educating, it's about programming. And they place their people in so-called power. What we are told is at the top of the pyramid of power, presidents, prime ministers and all these people, in the upper echelons of the pyramid, but nowhere near the top. The real people in power are behind them, in the shadows, and these are the conduits, the presidents, the prime ministers and all the rest of it, for bringing that agenda into the public arena as changes in laws and legislations and the structure of society. So they compartmentalize all these different pyramids within pyramids, so that in the end the banking system is encompassed by a pyramid. I mean, a bank's a pyramid in itself, all hierarchical pyramids, but then the banking system is encompassed by a pyramid, and at the top of that are the same families, most notably the Rothschilds. Same with the businesses. The transnational corporations are compartmentalized pyramids in and of themselves, but they go into a bigger pyramid which encompasses all the transnational corporations. So at that point, they are one corporation, just as at that point, all those banks are one bank. Same with politics, education, all these things. And people in this part of the pyramid here, they go to work, they're not trying to manipulate anybody, they're not trying to create a fascist Orwellian agenda and global state. They just want to go about their careers, earn money, go on holiday, provide for their families. But they don't know how their apparently innocent contribution individually connects with other apparently innocent contributions around the system. When you connect them together, you see it's anything but an innocent direction that it's taking the world. And that's how they keep what's going on in the hands of the few. This is Neil Haig's representation of that. This is the general population, and these are the kind of dark-suit administrators of the system until you get up here to where the control system is. And most even here won't know that exists. Oh, I've just got this order from on high, I don't know where it's come from. Well, maybe we ought to bloody ask, instead of just doing it. And again, it can also be symbolized as the web, where these various strands, they're secret societies, semi-secret organizations, which go out and connect all these apparently unconnected countries, institutions, media organizations, banks, etc. And this Illuminati network, symbolized as the bearded man, spews out all these people who apparently appear to be random. To run for president needs cuckoo land amounts of money. Where do they come from? It comes from here. Where does that money come from? And therefore, you have two people put up for president who are there because of the money provided by this network. Therefore, they've chosen not only who it's going to be, but they've sorted out what the policies are going to be in return for that money. And this is what they do. We think we're choosing our leaders. We're not. It's a myth. And so this structure that I showed you earlier comes into this, where these leaders are put into power to carry out the agenda of the control system, which is why when parties change, whatever they've said in opposition goes out the window and they start acting like the party in government previously that they were criticizing. The common denominator is whoever gets in power basically introduces the control system, and whoever's out of power opposes the control system verbally, which means that you have the illusion of choice when whoever's in power unfolds the agenda. So there is no choice. It's a myth. And they control these institutions and play the people off against each other, divide and rule, both within countries and between countries, keeping everything in a constant state of confusion and conflict. And that's the key. Manipulating confusion and conflict is child's play. Manipulating harmony, manipulating respect between each other is a nightmare. So they have to keep the world in constant states of conflict. Now, when you bring it down to an individual country, as we come down this structure, this is what you find in every country. You had in America, it's a wonderful example, but it plays out all over the world. During the Bush years, Republican, that administration was controlled by a group of people known as neocons, neoconservatives, including all these people like Richard Pearl and all the rest of it. And over here, you have what I call, anyway, the democons. This is a network of people. I put Kissinger in the democons because he's an advisor to Obama at the moment, but he spends most of his time with the neocons, Kissinger. He just goes with whoever's winning. And the democons are a group of people that control the democratic administrations. But the democons and the neocons are controlled by the same force once you get to here. So people think, oh, I voted Republican this time. Oh, I'm going to put the Democrats in because I like that Obama. Got a nice smile. And what you're doing is voting for this, whatever. And that's what's happening in this country. Same thing.